Welcome to Two Bitches in a Room podcast. Thank you for joining us for this week's exciting episode as we dive into the topic for the week of chord. I almost said chord connecting, chord cutting, what it is, why it exists, and all about why you have it, mindfulness about it, and all the ins and outs, basically. So, yay, chord cutting.
Yay.
So you want to start out with definition queen of the definition of what is a chord in the first place, and we're talking about energetic chords.
Yeah. So energetic chords are like these invisible energy threads that connect us to other people, other situations, even. These chords are formed through interactions, and they also carry emotional connections. They can be positive, they can be negative, and they can even be neutral. Positive chords will energize and uplift you. Negative chords, those of you who know me, I hate using the word negative, but negative chords may drain your energy, and they will definitely impact your well-being. So that's my off the cuff definition
of chord cutting. Yeah. So this is a hot topic right now as the collective are connecting with different individuals, separating themselves from others, relationships, and things like that. And there's a lot of talk on cord cutting, I feel like, right now. And I feel like one thing that I notice with cord cutting in conversations that I've had is there's a preconceived notion that you cut a cord and it's donezo forever, that cord is to be severed forever. However, and then they get thrown off when that said person that they cut a cord with re-enters their life, or that person themselves are constantly now thinking about this person that they've cut the cords with, and it seems to be deemed as like it didn't work. What's your opinion on that?
So first, I think you have to go to how the energy chords are even formed. They are formed from just, actually, there's three different ways: emotional connections, repetitive interactions, and intense experiences. That's how energy chords. So emotional. Every time you interact with somebody, you share an emotion, whether it's love, anger, joy, that chord forms. Those energy chords can be especially strong with close family members, friends, romantic partners. So what I mean when I say the second way, which is repetitive interactions, regular contact from someone, even if it's mundane, it could create a chord. So colleagues, acquaintances, even people from your past. And the third way is intense experiences. So an event that evoked a strong emotional response, like a traumatic experience or a passionate romantic encounter, that will result in a formation of a significant energy cord. So when she's talking about cutting these cords and they don't feel like it's worked, well, have you truly cut yourself off from thinking about that person?
Right.
Their name's still in your contact list. You know what I mean?
Right.
Are you still stalking their Facebook page or, IG page? Because you haven't cut that connection if that's still taking place. So I
Oh,
hope
yeah.
hope that that answered it a little bit better.
Yeah. And, I think like me myself, when I get asked about cord cutting, obviously, as shaman, we do this in a very particular way. But when I get asked about just in general cord cutting, my first go to with people is it's also an exercise in establishing really great boundaries for yourself
Yeah.
when it comes to really, especially like repetitive one chords where you're going to interact. I'm just going to use an example of like, let's say a parent, right? You're going to interact with a parent, with said parent on some level through the course of your life. You're connected in that kind of way. So cord cutting, can you cut that cord of the existence of that relationship how it was uh, up until that point? Sure. But if you're interacting, then you're just going to reattach another cord. So here's your opportunity to establish boundaries for yourself and for this relationship and how you want to go forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's how I talk to people about when I'm asked about it. And then also my other go-to is, how emotionally attached and connected are you still to said relationship? If you haven't gone through your own healing process and transmuting that relationship, that lesson, that energy, you're
Mhm.
still going to be holding on. Like, you can cut the cord. It's basically like, if this cord is attached to two individuals, and I see this a lot with like romantic relationships that went sour, and you cut it in the center, well, it's still here and it's still here.
Mhm.
So you're still holding on.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of people misconstrue the concept that it didn't work,
Yeah. I
you
agree.
know. Hmm.
I I think that those what a lot of people misunderstand, or maybe just simply aren't aware that those chords will influence how you feel. They will
Hmm.
influence how you behave. Now, positive chords may make you feel supported and loved. Negative chords can lead to feelings of exhaustion, anxiety, even physical ailments. So I think it's important that everybody recognizes when those chords start to affect your well-being adversely.
Hmm.
So every time I'm going to use our conversations. So every time I talk to Krys, if we are respectful for one another, if we're enjoying the conversation, if everything is going fine, that's positive interaction. But let's say Krys says something that pisses me off. And even if I don't tell her it pisses me off, but underneath, I feel harmed or hurt, or in some way, shape, or form that she has stepped over the line and breached some invisible barrier that I feel is inappropriate. Well, we've just
Hmm.
sullied the cord. That is
Yep.
no longer a positive cord. So it doesn't matter how much conversations we have after that she's pleasant, nice, and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. That cord is now tainted. So that cord needs to be completely removed, and new cords need to form that hold nothing but positive. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Right. Because it is, once a cord is established and it gets tainted, like how Charli is saying, it's not like you can run back through and heal that and repair it.
Right.
It's what once it's done, it's done.
Right.
Once it's sullied, once it's tarnished, it's like that. That's it. It's done. So it's not something that you can go back and just fix or put a band-aid on. You have
Right.
to cut that cord, remove that cord, and I'm all about root of origination. That's my jam.
Yeah.
So pulling it completely and reestablishing a new cord, and moving forward that way. I do also, I feel like another misconception with cord cutting for people is that, you know, you may say that you want to cut cords with an ex. I'm just going to use that because relationships have been a big topic this past
Yeah.
couple of weeks. So, uh, you want to cut cords with an ex, but internally, again, this is where we circle back to how attached are you emotionally still to this? Because internally, you don't want to cut cords. You're still holding on. You haven't fully let go. You haven't fully processed. Well, that's another element that's just going to work against you because it's then you're going to think it's not going to work when you do it because you're still attached. It's like somebody trying to cut a cord and then immediately as soon as that's cut, you're just reattaching it again.
Yeah,
Still, and then you find yourself still stuck in the same position.
absolutely.
And then then you get the phone call that it doesn't work.
Yeah. So look,
Yeah.
cords, it's not about severing relationships per se. It's about you freeing yourself from unhealthy attachments. Okay, it allows you to reclaim your
Mm-hmm.
energy. It'll allow you to reaffirm your boundaries or even begin to set healthy boundaries. I personally believe it
Yeah.
fosters this deep sense of empowerment and independence. Personally, I cut cords on the regular. I cut them with my
Yeah.
spouse, my children, my very close, dearest friends, and with any client that I may work with. I don't want to carry it around with me. I don't want to carry pieces of energy from other individuals. Um, it's not healthy. It's just,
Oh
in
yeah.
my opinion, it's not healthy. Now, does that mean that I want to sever the relationship with the people? No, no. But if somebody that I feel has overstepped something into that realm that has upset me or angered me in any way, shape, or form, do I want to continue that court? No, absolutely no. No way.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after this short break. In the hustle and bustle of modern life, finding time for spiritual growth can be challenging. But what if there was a way to reconnect with your inner self, to find peace and clarity amidst the chaos? Introducing the Shamanic Path, your guide to spiritual development and inner peace. At the Shamanic Path, we offer a range of online courses designed to nurture your spirit and elevate your consciousness. For those just beginning their spiritual quest, to the advanced practitioners looking to expand, we are here to support you on your journey every step of the way. Discover the power of your intuition, the beauty that comes with connecting, and the joy of self-discovery. Embrace the journey to a more enlightened, balanced, and fulfilled life. Take that first step today. Visit theshamanicpaths.com and begin your journey.
We need a fresh, new, clean slate of energy, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
build on that. And there's times when I have cut cords with everybody and anybody. It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, indifferent. I'm cutting them because I like my own energy and I was designed to carry my own energy and not everybody else's.
Mm-hmm. I think I take cord cutting as it's really rejuvenating for yourself.
Yeah.
It is that, like, after doing it, and I'm a big fan of, you should be making this a regular practice
Mhm.
for everyone.
It's
It should be a
maintenance.
regular maintenance practice for yourself, is cutting cords, because like Charlie's explaining, you're removing all of the cords, and I too am. I cut everything. That does good, bad, ugly, and different.
Yeah.
I just like clean slate every time, clean slate every time, and you know you're returning said energy. You're calling back your own energy. You're rejuvenating yourself. And it just kind of refreshes you in this way. And again, especially if you're a person who is actively trying to learn boundaries and establish them and what they look like in for you and your life, it's a good practice to also do, because you're reestablishing boundaries, you're refreshing your boundaries, maybe establishing new ones when you start practicing cord cutting regularly.
Right.
So I think it's a fantastic thing that everybody should be making as part of their routine, however it is for you.
Now, like I said, people may look at me and say, well, you're going to the extreme, cutting it from everybody and anybody. But I have no fear of losing anything, right? And that's how you have to go into cord cutting.
Yeah. I
Because
look at it as a positive thing.
yeah,
I look at it as a great
yeah.
thing.
But I
You know.
have seen, and I have even experienced at the beginning when I was first taught cord cutting. I remember being deeply afraid of cutting cords with my then new spouse, right? So I'm
Mhm.
thinking to myself, like, well, what if this energy is what is keeping us together? In the moment I cut it, then
Mm.
there's not going to be love. Then he's not going to feel my support or my admiration or whatever, fill in the blank, right?
Uh-huh.
There
Uh-huh.
was a fear of that. There really was, especially with me being a new practitioner and just all those feelings associated with inadequacy. Um, there was so much going on at that time that I was like, but he's, everything, my support system. I don't want to lose that. So for anybody who's watching this and maybe has the same concerns, I promise you, have no
Yeah.
fear. Go into it, because why would you ever want to be in a relationship that a cord is going to make the difference of them sticking around or not?
True.
What you
Yeah,
want it
true.
to be authentic. Um,
Right.
have enough consideration of yourself and who you are and what you bring to the energetic table in any relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's just my feeling. So if we put the positives aside and we're just focusing on what we're perceiving to be negative relationship, what would be your number one recommendation? Like, what would describe a negative chord? Like, what
Um,
type of relationship?
for me, I feel that in my experience with people with cords, a negative relationship would be one that there is trauma attached to that relationship. So, and remember, trauma is different for everyone. We all perceive trauma differently. But if you have those ties where you think about a relationship, whether it be with a family member or romantic person, or a friend even, and these what you perceive as bad memories surface, right? Oh, she did this to me, he did this to me, I was hurt in this kind of way. That's a negative cord, because that's holding all of that still experience within that cord. That's what I feel
So
like
like
it.
an unresolved conflict.
Unresolved conflict,
Yeah.
yeah. And I feel like that's also too, because again, like what I said earlier, when we look at ourselves and how we have healed and moved past those experiences for ourselves, But when you have that, and then also too, like other relationships where this is a popular thing, right? Where a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this I can't be around this person anymore. We're toxic together. We're so toxic." You know, that famous word that everyone loves to use right now.
Yeah.
It's toxic. We're no good for each other. It's always drama. There's always fighting. There's always something. Yeah, sit your ass. That's a unhealthy cord that's attached between the two of you. And you find yourself feeling drained energetically, lack of motivation, or it's just all these lower vibrational feelings that come to you with the thought of this person, you know, the other person on the other side of the cord or that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to cut that. You want to cut that.
So unresolved relationships and toxic relationships is what it sounds like, right?
Right.
I think here goes my shadow, right? Because I'm the shadow work queen. Um, I think negative influences who consistently or otherwise undermines your confidence, disrespects your boundaries, manipulates
Mm-hmm.
your emotions. Those are people you want to cut your cords.
Yep. Gaslighting. That's
Yeah.
another. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like people that may be passive aggressive. I mean, I'm sure there's people that are popping into your mind right now as I'm saying this. But
Mm-hmm.
anybody who makes you feel less than, you want to cut that cord.
Yes.
Even if you love them, even if it's a parent, even if it's a lover, even if it's a child or your mother, who cares? Cut them immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not serving you. It's just not. And I think the next one would be, and I know that you were talking about unresolved conflicts, but I want to talk about past relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know a lot of people who come to me for cord cutting, and it is revolving around holding on to cords from previous relationships that are no longer present, or certainly aren't serving them.
Mm-hmm.
And cutting cords will really assist you in letting go and moving forward and opening yourself up to new experiences and people. So if you are pining, and I use that term very loosely, but if you're pining over someone that you had once loved and lost, cut that cord and cut that shit out.
Cut it all.
Yeah. I was taught from my mentor, and everybody here knows how young I was when I started. So, as a teenager, you're still learning how to build relationships. So I had relationships that came and went very frequently with people. And so he very much instilled within me that if that was a toxic experience in any way, shape, or form, to use your word toxic,
Mm-hmm.
in any way, shape, or form, if that was harmful, painful, whatever, then you need to get rid of any remnants of that person. And this is something I love about the Native American belief structure. They don't do pictures, they don't do momentums. They do not believe in that because it carries energy.
The energy. Yeah.
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 So all momentums should be completely removed from your existence. So those pictures that are sitting up in a box in your closet, and that closet is probably a
Mm-hmm.
mess, that's probably why.
Or in this day and age, on your phone,
Yeah.
still that we hold on to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. Just toss it. You know what? Just toss it. They are an X for a reason. When you think of X, think of the poison bottle with the big X on it. There's a reason why there's an X. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to let that go. You have to move on from that. Obviously they're an X for a reason. So move on. Move on, because you're holding yourself back from new experiences, or maybe in your current relationship, and you're still pining over
Mm-hmm.
that person. You can't 100% give yourself to your new relationship if you're still
Mm-hmm.
energetically connected to somebody else.
Yeah. Actually, that's a really good point. In current relationships, you're talking about past stuff that we still hold on to.
Mhm.
Think about how many times that, we hear and that people do this where you find yourself comparing your current relationship to past experiences and past relationships that you've had. That's also, I just heard that. That's also still a good example of carrying that energetic cord with that other person.
Yeah.
So, like Charlie's saying, give yourself the opportunity to have a clean slate and give your new relationship the opportunity to actually, build what it's intended to build or go however it's going to go, essentially a fighting chance.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Okay. How about we go over a couple of tips or methods that someone can do cord cutting for themselves on their own time?
Okay. Um, First and foremost, it's setting the intention. Just begin by setting a clear intention that you are going to cut that specific cord you wish to cut. Believe it or not, your intention, that is the premise for all metaphysical workings, but it
Mm-hmm.
is extremely powerful. Your word is your wand. It sets the stage for the entire process. So setting that intention would be the first step. The second step would be use visualization. Close your eyes, visualize those cords connecting to you, to that person, to that situation. I would ask your I say team very generally, because that's how I
Yeah.
see all the people that I work with. So ask your guide, your team, to come forward and assist you with this process. That would be my general rule of instructions, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But after the process is complete, I would use affirmations, reinforce your intentions, saying
Yeah.
things like, I release all that no longer serves me. I am free to live my life joyfully. Find an affirmation that doesn't sound so bleh to you. You know what I mean? Find one that works for
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
and say that as you're going through that process. I do not recommend for people who are new to this to go willy-nilly and just start karate chopping everything. Nobody knows you better than you, right? You know what energetic cord is toxic, that is bad for you. Start off
Mm-hmm.
with that one.
Yes.
Release that one. And then
One at a time.
work your way through that. And I'm sorry, but I should have started off with at the very beginning, make sure you're grounded.
Yeah.
Make sure you're grounded, make sure you're ready for this process. It can be emotional for some people. It absolutely is severing an energetic connection. And for all the people out there that are wondering if the other person will feel it, yes, they will. They will. It may be subconscious if they are not a practitioner. If it's a practitioner, they're going to know, but it may be subconscious. And I want to piggyback on what you said, Krys, because if that person has already cut a cord and you're just carrying it around and dragging it with you wherever you go, they're not going to feel it. And I've seen that happen as well, where they were more than happy to let go and you were not, so that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I like that. I do think I'm a huge fan of, amplifying that intention as much as possible. So, like Charli said, ensure that you are prepared and ready to do this process. It's not something, and I think this is another thing that people misunderstand. It's not something to take lightly when you do this type of working. And, ground, I'm a huge fan of, running through your energy, doing some centering work, breath work, if that's your thing. And then, when you're doing this, I also add in, you can absolutely ask your team to surround that other person in healing and whatever, because you want it, for both all parties involved, basically. Because again, like Charli said, if you go, the other person is going to be aware of it, even if it's subconsciously. And why not set the stage? This is just my train of thought, but why not set the stage for everybody to get the benefits from something that you're doing, in a good way.
absolutely.
So, we all carry experiences with relationships, whether romantic or platonic, and whether it went really bad or it's really good and you're just doing a general clean of your own cords and stuff like that, spread that. Your ripple effect is what I'm getting at. Like, I'm all huge thing, and people who know me know I've always fucking talk about your ripple effect. So that's part of your ripple effect too. So, what kind of frequency and intention are you putting out with that too? But yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. Nice.
And if you are very unsure about doing this process yourself, Krys and I also offer this service. We've talked mutually about this, and ordinarily that would be like $150 service that we would charge. But to all of our viewers, we're opening it up. It would be $35 for the process. We will go through our own ritual of removing those cords. Because ultimately what we want is for you to have personal growth, emotional freedom, have control
Absolutely.
of your energy. Most importantly, cord cutting, in my opinion, is all about understanding how to foster healthy relationships. We really want to support you in your journey to embrace new opportunities. This is really self-care. It really is. And to have compassion with yourself, aligning with your highest good. So yeah, that's
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If and I've been saying this, I just actually said this to someone yesterday too. If we're in this time frame right now of aligning in choosing our realities, aligning in our highest and best, timeline, whatever that looks like for you.
Mhm.
And you notice the point with this conversation I had yesterday was noticing people in this individual's life starting to take a step back. And I said, yeah, well, everybody, this is the grand opportunity for everyone to take a step back and do an internal reflection on the deepest levels, right?
Mhm.
As we've both talked about before, the mask coming off, truth and authenticity,
Yeah.
everyone's facing themselves on a different level than they've ever had before. Cord cutting can absolutely benefit every single person, practitioner or not,
Mhm.
with moving towards your highest and best life, your highest and best timeline, whatever you want to cultivate. Take it as also, when you talk about healing and we're releasing and we're transmuting, we're making room for bigger, better, more. Cord
Mhm.
cutting goes right along with that. You're removing these cords, you're making room for healthier ones, for better boundaries for yourself, better self, showing yourself more self-respect. That's how I look at it too. You
Mhm.
know, the
Yeah.
respect for yourself is paramount, and cord cutting goes right along with that.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you find yourself with somebody in your life, I'm sorry, this just kind of popped in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But if you find yourself and somebody in your life and you're constantly giving them advice, right? And you're like, oh, you should do this, you should do that, whether they're seeking it out or you're just offering it. If you find yourself doing that a lot, you're way too connected and you need to cut that cord
Mm-hmm.
because you are
Yeah.
way too invested in the outcome of their path in life. And that is not what needs to happen. And that's showing me that there is um, toxicity in that cord. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just
Yes.
something to consider while you're perusing this. I mean, obviously, um, we could go on much more in depth than what we do, but considering the time that we have, hopefully the information that was imparted will give you a greater understanding of the method, the importance, and how you can really just reaffirm what you want in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to gain from them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope this gives you a new perspective of cord cutting and kind of takes some of the fear away of doing the cord cutting or having it done, whether you go at it on your own or you contact either myself or Charlie for to take advantage of the special that we have. So make sure you mention it
Yeah.
because my brain I can't trust right now. So
I know
make
that's
sure
right.
you mention to me, that you found it on this episode, and absolutely. Um, but I hope this helps people understand on a deeper level of cord cutting and again take the fear away and open yourself up to more self-care and practices for yourself. So I guess on that note, thank you for watching us. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your presence. If this resonated with you or you know somebody that it will, we always appreciate the energetic exchange of liking and sharing, commenting, and subscribing to our channel,
Mhm.
whether it's on YouTube or also we do have the audio part on Spotify. And until then,
Bye bye.
bye.